Welcome back to Fast Gadgets. Hope you're enjoying watching, and kind of an important topic I want to talk about. I get asked this a lot lately, and I've also seen questions about it on my videos. And basically the question is, what's the best distribution for me, or can this distribution do the same thing as Ubuntu does? So I had a question related to GNOME. You have this desktop interface in Fedora. Is it the same in Ubuntu? And I really think it's important to have this discussion. If you're an average user, you've probably experimented with a couple of different distributions, so you've figured out which one you like, and you've developed abilities with it, and you feel comfortable with it, so that's a good thing. But what about the beginning user, or somebody who's dissatisfied with the distribution they're on? Well, there's a couple of different options. One thing I always suggest is going and looking at a couple of different distributions, and don't always assume that the top list by hits on DistroWatch are the ones basically that you want to look at. It's entirely possible that there are other distributions down here on the list that you may find more to your liking. Somebody who likes a Windows interface may find they like Kubuntu or Kubuntu better than they do regular Ubuntu because they don't want to use Unity. And you can look down in here. Somebody who's interested in getting a utility distribution might be interested in Knoppix. So there's a couple in here that are worth looking at, more than a couple really if you think about it. Some that might apply directly to your needs. And once you've looked at a couple of them, you've read about them, you've learned what there is in the distro that might be appealing to you, I always recommend using virtualization, installing one or two, and experimenting and learning about that particular distribution. So if you come and look at this list and you see Mint on the very first entry consistently, 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, I would not say that that makes Mint the best distribution. I think that it shows interest here on this website, and they do point that out. They say with DistroWatch page hit ranking, and this is important, basically they're looking at unique visitors by IP address who get 1 hit per day based on the distro they look at. So my IP address, if I hit Mint, I have gone to the Mint page 1 time. They did have an issue where they had the counters on the separate distribution pages and they were being abused, so that's when they took the counter off and they changed it to do a page hit based on IP address once per day, so they're using logging, which I think was a really good idea. Can the system still be gamed? I suppose so. So I'm not saying that these results aren't accurate or useful. I'm just saying that do yourself a favor. Don't assume that Mint's the only one and you have to use Mint. Keep in mind there's desktop environments too. So I could use Cinnamon on Fedora and have before. Cinnamon's actually an excellent interface desktop environment for Fedora, and it works wonderful. Technically speaking, I think it's a little better than KDE, which may make you wonder, why are you in KDE now? Well, KDE applications like Kdenlive, of course, work best under KDE, and in some circumstances will not work at all unless KDE is installed. Yes, you can try to install the dependencies, but in Fedora anyway, I haven't had very good success getting all the necessary dependencies installed for a given KDE app, and then that app doesn't necessarily behave or look as well as it does if you were to install the entire desktop environment, so I usually just do. And you can actually run the app then, and you don't even need to be in that particular desktop environment, but it seems to work best with the app-specific desktop environment installed. So Cinnamon's very nice, though. If you're more of a Windows user, it looks really nice, and it's one reason why Mint's popular. Another reason is, of course, the out-of-box experience. So if you're a new user, Mint's awesome. So when you do look at these, if you go to Distro Watch or you look at another list somewhere else, don't assume that the top 10 are the only ones worth looking at. There's still many more in here that are worth looking at. Ubuntu Mate, I call it Mate because I'm lazy and I just want to say it quickly. Puppy, if you're concerned about size, you could put this on a thumb drive and basically have it anywhere you needed it. If you're interested in security aspects, and you've probably heard about it, if you're a Linux user, Tails, which of course is a really good distribution for privacy and security. Of course, Edward Snowden used it to collect NSA documents without being detected. So interestingly enough, though, with Tails, the NSA is actually labeled Tails as an extremist distribution. So they've labeled the users of Tails as extremists, which, okay, I find interesting. Why is it such a bad thing to want privacy? But anyway, just keep in mind that when you're considering another distribution, don't be afraid to go down through the list and look around, do some research. Here's CoreOS here on number 60. This is another one to consider. What is CoreOS useful for? Well, if you're working in a server environment, you're going to do a large rollout of servers. CoreOS is definitely a good distribution for that. So there's just so many to choose from. And it's actually kind of fun to try out these different distributions and find out which one works best for you. And at the same time, maybe it doesn't work best, but you learn something in the process. Chalet OS was reviewed by English Bob. If you want to get a really quick overview or look at a given distribution, the English Bob channel is awesome. I do recommend checking him out. I usually stick around with Fedora. That's my area of expertise and what I enjoy using. I have used Ubuntu in the past and other distributions, Debian, and I do virtual machines quite often so that I can keep updated on what's going on and how they're working, so I learn the maximum amount that I can. So anyway, hopefully this was useful for you. I don't want to say any distribution is better than another. I'm just trying to say that don't click the first one and say that's the one I should take. This is obviously the best distro. No, it's the one that has the most interest today with Distro Watch. Well, 5 or 6 years ago that would have been Ubuntu, and now Ubuntu's number 3, so it's still up there, but Mint is showing twice as much interest right now as Ubuntu, and Debian's right up there, and usually is. Debian's a great distribution. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Like and subscribe, drop me a comment, let me know what you think.